and he really tried to go into my tent.
Hello?
The hair on the edge of woods just staring at me.
What the fuck? Right there. Oh, right there.
Very good.
Won't be walking through a lake.
Valerie is a traveler recognized for documenting her journeys throughout Central Asia, focusing on authentic cultural encounters, remote scenery, and the people she meets along the way. In this episode, she was camping alone in an open field in Kazakhstan. During the night, an unexpected visitor approached her tent, turning a calm, overnight stop into one of the most frightening moments she had faced.
Start from the beginning. I was in Turkestan hitchhiking to Amsterdam, and it was pretty late in the evening, 7:30 p.m. I'm just a few hundred meters away from the city center in Turkestan, and it's sad to see, but it looks like a different world. The streets are full of potholes, they're scattered everywhere. The contrast is very big, like the huge buildings and the fountains. Yeah, it's the same city, right?
To understand how it unfolded, we go back to the start of her day. She had been hitchhiking from Turkestan toward Amsterdam, hoping to visit the historic mausoleum and nearby mosque. A local family offered her a ride, and by the time she arrived, dusk was already setting in. She urgently needed a place to sleep.
Okay, I found a good spot here on the field. I have to be quick now though, because the sun is setting and I don't want to use my light, because then the mosquitoes will bite me. There are already some horses here next to me, but you can't see them, I guess. I love this place already. And I'm gonna see the mosque in the morning.
Eventually settling on a quiet stretch of open field as the final light faded. Horses grazed nearby, creating a peaceful scene she immediately adored. As she prepared for the night, the horses wandered closer, curious about her presence. She recorded a few brief moments, enjoyed the surroundings, and got ready to rest. But about an hour later, she woke to movement outside. Thinking it was the horses again, she checked, only to see a car approaching across the dark field.
There is someone in the car. I hope he doesn't mind me camping here on his ground.
Kazakhstan bilmeyecek ediyoruz.
WhatsApp версия за телефон.
Bye bye. Thank you. Kata Rahmat. Thank you. Bye.
A man and his wife stepped out. They appeared to be checking on the horses and soon noticed her tent. Using a translation app, they asked about her background, whether she was married and why she was there. The conversation remained friendly enough but lasted longer than she expected, and the heavy mosquitoes made it increasingly uncomfortable. Eventually they left. Minutes later, the same car returned. This time the man wanted her social media information. She gave it to him, and they drove away again. Although the interaction had stayed polite on the surface, something about it felt unsettling. She tried sleeping once more, but around 3 a.m., she woke to someone outside her tent.
I can't believe I just called this man friendly. I'm so disappointed. It's 3 a.m. I heard a noise, someone was saying something. I opened the door of my tent, and then he was there again, like very close. And he was like making a kissing gesture. And I said, what? I was still like, I didn't understand what was going on because I just woke up, and he really tried to go into my tent. I had to stop him and push him away, and he said, what are you doing? No. Like clearly said, no. And he wouldn't understand, like he wouldn't want to understand. I was like in such a shock because I didn't get why like what was happening, and I kept saying no, and he wanted to still like come inside. Eventually he said, yeah, phone to speak, like Google Translate, and I said, no, leave me alone, no, go. And I think I said this for 2 minutes straight until he finally left. But man, I've never had that before. And yeah, now he went back into his car. I don't know, will he return or not? So it's a bit stupid situation right now. And I mean, so sad, because they were friendly and stuff, but this really destroyed it, unfortunately. And it was the first time I didn't really feel 100% safe. I mean, I was sure that one day I will face these kind of...
When she looked out, she saw the same man standing extremely close. His behavior was clearly inappropriate, and he attempted to enter the tent despite her repeated refusal. She pushed him away and declined all engagement, but he kept trying to approach her, insisting on more interaction even as she firmly rejected him. After several tense minutes, he finally stepped back and returned to his car. Even then, she had no idea whether he intended to come back. When daylight arrived, she continued with her plan to visit the mausoleum, trying to salvage something meaningful from the experience despite being visibly exhausted and shaken. What made the situation particularly disturbing was that nothing she did had encouraged such behavior. She had simply answered his questions politely and respected normal boundaries, none of which justified his decision to return alone in the middle of the night and attempt to force himself into her space. Although she kept traveling afterward, the incident became a strong reminder of the precautions needed when camping solo in unfamiliar regions. By morning, the field looked peaceful again, with cows wandering past as though nothing had happened. Viewers who want to see more real encounters that make everyday life feel safer can watch the next video, and subscribing helps support the channel. Some believe the man returned because he misinterpreted her politeness, while others think he targeted her once he realized she was alone. The encounter shows how quickly a routine exchange can escalate into a real threat. The unsettling question remains, if she hadn't woken up at that moment, what would he have done next? Viewers are left wondering how narrowly she avoided something far worse, and whether he ever planned to stop. The Tiny Nomad channel follows its creator Gina as she travels and lives out of her reliable 4Runner, documenting solo female road trips, car camping routines, and journeys to unusual and often remote places throughout North America, with a particular affection for Alaska. Her videos are known for her creativity on the road and her willingness to push her comfort zone, frequently featuring eerie locations and stealth camping challenges. On October 29, 2025, she set out to record a Halloween special. Her plan was to spend the night at the abandoned Igloo Hotel near Denali National Park. When she arrived, the entire site was blocked off, forcing her to discard the idea. The day had already brought a series of small letdowns, a dull, uneventful drive through Denali, and a disappointing meal in Talkeetna, so she shifted her plan toward an even more unsettling destination, a haunted cemetery in Anchorage, where she intended to stealth camp for the night. After a long drive, she reached the Russian Orthodox cemetery. Its unusual layout immediately established an eerie tone, especially the brightly painted, house-shaped grave coverings she later learned were called spirit houses.
So this is a Russian Orthodox cemetery. I've never been to one of these before, but they have the coolest, I shouldn't be saying cool, I'm like surrounded by a bunch of dead people right now, and I'm saying their little tombstones are cool. Oh God.
Although she found them fascinating, she felt increasingly unsettled as she stood alone among the structures in near silence, noting that her streak of bad luck made the atmosphere feel even more threatening. The strange activity began almost as soon as she parked. A light positioned in front of the small church within the cemetery repeatedly switched on and off. She confirmed the weather was still and briefly wondered if an animal could be setting it off. But the pattern quickly became too specific to dismiss.
You guys, I'm not making this up right now, but there's a light in front of the church, and when you walk past the light, it turns on. I know, because I walked over there 2 times to look at the cemetery. Now I'm in my car, and it's flicked on 2 times. It's not windy outside. It could be an animal, I guess. I did hear something in the bushes as well when I was looking at one of the tombstones. I don't know if that's what you call them, because they're not stones. But you know what I mean. There's no way I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight here. I'm gonna try though. I do not like how that light keeps turning on and off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's a light that lights up the front of the church. And there it goes. It's turned on twice since I've come back. What do you think it is, guys? Do you think it's animals or wind, or do you think it's ghosts or spirits?
The light activated when she focused on paranormal subjects, when she examined the spirit houses, and once more as she read about their symbolic role as shelter for a soul in the afterlife. Feeling overwhelmed, she researched the cemetery further and discovered it was considered one of the most paranormally active places in Alaska, a detail she had not known before arriving.
Just reading a little bit more about the spirit boxes, and they symbolize shelter for the departed soul in the afterlife. Right as I read that sentence, of course, that light turned on again. Of course, it could mean nothing, but it could mean something. You guys let me know. What do you think? Okay, I really haven't researched much about this cemetery until right now. Obviously, our plans from earlier got a little messed up. I was gonna be camping at the igloo, so this was a quick last minute change of plans. Well, I just learned that this cemetery is one of Alaska's most notorious locations for paranormal activity. I cannot make this up. I did not know that until right now. Oh my god. I feel like I have to stay because I committed to it, but your girl is scared. I do not like that light coming on and off. It's not even windy outside. I do not want to be around paranormal activity.
The realization heightened her fear, yet she felt committed to finishing the Halloween episode. As a safety measure, she broke from her normal stealth camping habits by keeping her window coverings off so she could move to the driver's seat immediately, if necessary. She described sensing an uncomfortable presence nearby and mentally prepared for little to no sleep. Despite her anxiety, she eventually managed to rest. Every small sound startled her, and the light continued flickering through the night, but nothing escalated beyond that. When daylight returned, the activity ceased. She packed up quickly, relieved to have completed her spooky Halloween stealth camp and eager to leave one of Alaska's most haunted cemeteries behind. Some viewers believe the recurring light activation was caused by environmental factors or animals, while others think the timing matched her actions too precisely to be accidental. The pattern raises questions about whether the site's reputation shaped the experience or validated it. If the activity intensified whenever she focused on the cemetery's history, what might have happened had she stayed awake longer or investigated more deeply? The encounter leaves behind an open mystery about what, if anything, was responding to her presence. Josh Life Adventures documents the experiences of a man known simply as Josh, living full-time on the road in his custom van. The channel highlights the practical, unfiltered realities of van life: vehicle upkeep, daily organization, cooking, and solo camping in scenic, often remote locations across the United States. His calm, straightforward style has built a dedicated audience that follows his pursuit of freedom through minimalist living and continuous travel. On November 11th, 2024, his day began near Lake Superior as he focused on a crucial task: restoring his batteries after a long week of work. He spent his final day in Minnesota handling maintenance, giving the van a thorough cleaning, sweeping beneath the bed, reorganizing storage areas, and arranging the essentials. He also showed the items stored beneath the floor, including tools, recreational gear, and the setup for his LiPo battery and diesel heater. Later in the afternoon, he realized the charging effort was failing due to thick cloud cover and the sun dipping too low behind the trees. He moved to a designated lakeside campsite, and even after choosing the best position available, was greeted by a familiar issue: the wind blowing straight into the van. Once he settled the vehicle, he shifted his focus to his pile of firewood. He built a strong fire to use up the remaining supply and began making dinner. The strange moment occurred just as he started evaluating his freshly cooked burger. While describing the meal, an unusual sound drifted in from the darkness.
Did you guys hear that? Okay, my camera battery just died. I have no idea what that was. It's gotta be deer, right? Won't be walking through a lake. Is that a bird? Huh. Well, I think I'm gonna pack up and get inside the van.
His camera stopped recording as the noise persisted, leaving him trying to make sense of it. The sound seemed to come from the lake and resembled something moving on legs through shallow water. Uneasy, he cut the night short and retreated to the van, noting how unsettling the noise had been. He relied on his diesel heater for warmth and comfort, while the mysterious activity continued somewhere beyond the glow of the fire. When morning arrived, sunlight filled the area, though the mystery remained. Standing by the lake, he reflected on the previous night's noises and the spot where they originated, an area only a couple feet deep, near a cluster of rocks. The way the sound imitated something walking through the shallows made him half-jokingly consider creatures from wilderness legends. Nothing was ever confirmed. His final night in Minnesota became a mix of productivity and lingering unease. Although he completed important maintenance and enjoyed a fire-cooked meal, the stillness of the evening was interrupted by something unseen moving through the water. The experience underscored the unpredictability of camping alone in quiet, isolated places. He left the state with more adventures ahead, hinting playfully at the chaos he might encounter as he continued into the West. Some viewers suggested the noises came from local wildlife, while others noted the depth and pacing sounded heavier than what typical animals produce. The remote setting and shallow water make the encounter difficult to categorize with certainty. If the noise truly came from something moving on two legs in only a few feet of water, what kind of creature could navigate so confidently in the dark? The unanswered question lingers long after the fire faded. On November 10th, 2025, Dawson and Michael from the YouTube channel Dawson Toller returned to the Primitive Baptist Church in Cades Cove, one of the locations most closely tied to the Appalachian legends they investigate. Their channel often follows their journeys through historic sites with unsettling reputations. And this visit marked their first full exploration there since their experience at Bell Witch Cave.
This church was founded in the year 1827, but without a proper location, many gatherings took place in nearby cabins, and it wasn't until 1832 that a long-term church was built, eventually outgrowing the size and erecting this current version in the year 1887. One common paranormal occurrence here at the church is that of a recurring apparition of a woman showing her face and even walking through walls at the Primitive Baptist Church, when in December of 1921, Josiah Gregory, aka Joe Banty, has been charged with arson shortly before his attempted murder charge. He burned down not only his brother-in-law, John Oliver's barn, but also his father-in-law, William Oliver's barn, on the same night. Both of them were pastors, aka elders, at this very church. After the first barn was burned, friends and family had arrived to help. With how much of a madman Josiah was, things likely could have ended way worse that night for the elders at the Primitive Baptist Church.
So inside of this church, there was never any deaths. Horror movie creepy, but it's absolutely creepy at night. You're all by yourself, there's no service.
Just an old abandoned church in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains.
Basically the church, it's just a one-room church. There's pews, that's basically it.
They began by recounting the church's long background, noting its 1800s origins and its connection to local tales, including the old story involving Josiah Banty.
The cemetery outside the church is the oldest cemetery in Cades Cove. 399 total graves have been documented, but many of them are unmarked. This isn't from a nefarious reason. This is due to the stones sinking into the ground and the fact that some of the gravestones were nothing more than large rocks that tourists have taken over the years.
Hello? We're back. My name is Dawson. I'm saying hello to anybody inside of this church or the cemetery behind it. Could you please show us some sort of sign, whether it's a knock, trigger one of the devices we have, use your voice, anything like that.
Just outside, the graveyard held hundreds of marked and unmarked graves, adding a somber weight to the setting as they stepped inside to start the night. Nothing hinted at how the evening would shift. When darkness settled in, they returned to the pews and arranged their gear near the front. Soon after they introduced themselves, a single knock echoed through the room.
That was pretty loud.
That was cool. And are you hearing a whistling outside or no? Remember earlier you said you were hearing a whistling inside of the church?
Yeah.
I heard it twice outside.
So I did hear a whistle and people were here. So it very well could have been regular people outside, but I did hear it as if it came from inside the church, and at the time nobody was in it. If those knocks were you, and it isn't just coincidental, could you please knock again?
Yeah.
Weird. Reviewing all of the footage, I can't really tell what it is, but it's from us moving and a strange reflection that was caught. I thought I heard it again.
Sounded like it could have came from the back row of the pew.
What the fuck?
Right there. Oh, right there.
More followed from different parts of the church, and Michael mentioned hearing whistling both outside and earlier from within the building. Their attention sharpened as each noise seemed to respond to the one before it. With activity continuing, they moved on to the Estes method.
If I were to ask you to do an Estes method. So?
Let's do it.
It's completely up to you, buddy.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Hello, Estes
Dance
method.
on it.
Handsome? Are you trying to say that he is handsome? Because I was talking about him at that moment. This is, I know he's right here, but it's so freaky right now.
You're back.
We're back. Yes, we are back. Do you remember us? Is there anything you would like to tell the world? Tell people?
Knees down.
Knees down. But we're doing something called the Estes method, and he is the only one that
100%.
he's the only one that can hear you. So if you could...
You're wanted here.
Wanted here.
You are.
I am? Oops.
It was you.
It was here. I think I'm gonna end the Estes method, so...
Not really.
I'm gonna be ending this. Is there one last thing you would like to say?
I don't like you.
Wearing headphones, Michael repeated what filtered through the device. Handsome. We're back. You're back. And later. I don't like you. The sequence made them pause and consider the timing, though the responses eventually faded. It felt like the right moment to continue the investigation outside.
Guys, we are officially heading into the cemetery. Is there anybody in this cemetery that's walking with us?
Log. Remove.
Dude, was that your hair I just heard?
Did you hear my hair?
Play with your hair again real quick. Oh no.
What'd you hear? I didn't hear anything.
Let's start walking back this way. That freaks me out. I thought maybe it was just your hair scraping against your hoodie. But if not, it was definitely something in the leaves. Just making noise. But now I'm really paranoid that it was an animal. Or a ghost. I mean, either one.
Out in the graveyard, the atmosphere grew heavier. As they walked among the headstones, Michael reacted to a noise beside him, and both heard the sharp crack of something breaking in the nearby woods. Unsure whether it was simply wildlife, they chose not to risk it, and ended the night from their car, relieved to leave without escalating anything further. Some viewers believe the church's history influenced the responses, suggesting memories tied to the place still echo there. If others have reported strange moments at this site as well, what remains woven into the quiet of this old church? On November 30th, 2025, Jason and Nikki from Gone with the Winds sat down to recount an experience unlike their usual travel and sailing adventures. After days of filming across 2 continents, they arrived in Amsterdam expecting nothing more than routine work, but instead found themselves sharing a story shaped not by exploration, but by a loss that unfolded quietly inside a parking garage.
Today we should be sharing with you our experience of driving in the Baja 1000, but unfortunately about half of that experience was stolen from us.
Along with our camera, lens, microphones, SD cards, and this is sort of like a cautionary tale. How we were robbed, what was stolen, and most importantly, what we've learned. We land in Amsterdam Tuesday morning, we go straight to Metz, which is the big boat show here.
And we are at the show all day, doing our thing again, researching,
Meeting with people,
that's
learning
right,
about this new technology.
and filming it to share with you. End of the day rolls around, we head out to dinner. Only thing we had with us was just our big camera and our microphones.
So we could just sort of not have to worry about backpacks.
So trying to be a little bit smarter, also because we're in a city, so carrying less is good, because carrying around backpacks is sort of obvious.
You know, we arrive, we're going to dinner, we decide to park in what we think is a secure parking area. It says cameras, fully secured.
So we park in that garage, and we had nothing else with us other than the one camera. So we put that camera in the trunk that was locked, hidden away, where nobody could see it. And the only other thing that was in that trunk was a few groceries that we had picked up right before we went to dinner.
In a good spot where the camera can see our car. So I thought, oh, this is about as safe as it can get.
We have a really great time hanging out with our new friends. Some of those new friends include Judy and Steve from Sailing Fair Isle, and their accommodation was en route back to the boat. So we said, hey, how about we give you a ride back to your place? They said, that sounds great. Thanks so much.
And as I'm walking up, we walk by this woman who's just hysterical. She's crying and just kind of distraught. And we thought, oh, maybe she had like a big argument with somebody or whatever. Like, we didn't notice anything pretty empty. And as I'm walking towards our car, I hit the unlock button and the lights don't flash. As we get close, we see they smashed the back tiny little triangle window on the driver's side.
That is painful.
Looking right at the camera, and they pulled down the back seat
and grabbed only the camera, which all felt very strange.
They described how the day began uneventfully. The car was empty, nothing out of place, and the single camera stored safely in the trunk before they walked off to continue their trip. But when they returned later, their tone shifted. They saw that the small triangular window behind the driver's seat had been shattered. That moment, they said, was when everything changed. And it was only the first discovery. In their retelling,
at first, it doesn't look like anything else has moved an inch. It was like they knew the camera was in there. Yeah. It sucks. That's it, what, 10 grand worth of equipment stacked all up? But the experiences on that camera, we can't replace, we cannot replicate. Okay, I have to handle this situation. From the other car that was here that said their car was broken into as well.
We immediately go down to the intercom and the area where there's supposed to be security personnel. Nobody's in there. We push the intercom button. We get some representative from
whoever
the
is the guy that's sitting in some room somewhere that's supposed to be watching these cameras, who's supposed to be your security or the person you call if you're having trouble, I suppose, with the gate or any other issues in the garage. And he is unsympathetic and unhelpful at best.
The couple emphasized how oddly targeted the theft felt. The back seat had been folded down, and only one item was missing: the camera holding 2 weeks of footage from the Baja 1000 and the Mets exhibition. The monetary value mattered far less than losing memories and documentation that could never be recreated. The fact that the thief ignored everything else made the break-in seem unusually intentional, and their search for answers offered little reassurance. They recalled trying to contact parking staff through the intercom, only to be told to call the police themselves. Even that became difficult when the emergency number repeatedly failed to connect.
Police can ask for video images.
Okay, we will come with the police. Where do we come to see the images?
Plane to the police, and then the police will come by us.
Can't see the footage, just call the police.
We were trying to call the police. We were struggling with getting somebody to answer the phone. Like, there is the emergency number. So then we had to look up what was the local police number, and Steve ended up calling from his phone.
Is their garage that this is happening in? You would have thought they would have had some responsibility to it, but in fact, they're completely the opposite. It happens so often that we're not going to come.
Yeah. Oh, is that what she said?
That's what she said. It happens so often we can't come. I said, well, we need to really look at the cameras. And she said, don't have the authority to look at the camera. And I said, well, the police, how can you not have the authority to look at the camera? He said, well, as soon as you've made a report, then we have the authority to do it.
So at this point, we're not feeling very confident or supported or even heard.
When they finally reached an officer, the response was frustratingly routine. Incidents like this happened constantly, and no one would be dispatched to the garage. What stood out most was the officer's explanation. Thieves could detect electronics using RF signals, even when devices were powered off. That detail reshaped their understanding of the entire situation.
The next morning, we go to the nearest police station and start to file a report.
Which takes hours. How'd it go?
The most interesting part is she said, you can't leave any electronics in your car anytime, anywhere in Amsterdam. That happens so often. And apparently the criminals have some sort of RF detector that can read any sort of frequency or signal that might be in your car. So we had the microphone transmitter attached to the camera, which is attached to the multi-interface shoe. It has like a little bit of power to it.
Even when it's powered off.
Even when it's powered off, which is why even though it was in the trunk and everything was shut, they could digitally see a signature that there was some sort of electronic in there. They probably just had the emergency hammers. They just walked up, they touched the window, unlocked it, looked back there, they saw the camera, grabbed it, they were probably gone within a few seconds. If they're smashing our car right here, the camera is shooting them. Hopefully there's footage. The police may or may not review the footage because this is so common here in Amsterdam.
The next morning, they spent hours at the police station filing a report. The advice they received was blunt. Never leave electronics in a vehicle in Amsterdam, even if hidden. Insurance would cover part of the loss, but the missing footage was gone for good. As they shared the story with their viewers, they acknowledged that moving forward would mean relying on backup equipment, and on a lesson learned the hard way. Their audience raised the same point again and again, a theft that precise rarely happens randomly. The repeated incidents at the parking facility suggested a pattern that felt less like simple bad luck and more like something quietly organized. If a thief could pinpoint a concealed device without any visible hints, what else might be detectable without anyone realizing it? And how many visitors have left that same garage unaware they were singled out the moment they arrived? The Grizzly Gaz channel follows its namesake host, often joined by his dog Fendi, as he completes solo overnight camps and explores remote or allegedly haunted areas across the UK. His videos blend rugged outdoor living with light paranormal inquiry, using his van as a mobile base while capturing the psychological tension of being alone in the wild. On November 3, 2025, Gaz parked beside a secluded reservoir near a forest rumored by locals to be connected with witchcraft. After preparing dinner and setting up his electric blankets powered by a portable generator, he and Fendi headed into the woods to look into the stories tied to the area. The forest was quiet in an unnerving way. Aside from the wind and Fendi's movement, nearly nothing made a sound.
It's very, very quiet apart from the wind and the odd aeroplane going overhead. Oh, when we get back to the van, I'll let you all know how Fendi's doing. Don't be going through them puddles, you idiot. Go on this way. I always feel like something's just gonna pop its head up over the wall. Annoyed out already. And there it is, the witch's den. You ready, mate? You can hear the wind just whistling through those trees. I'm sure I just saw a light or maybe some eye shine. Hope there's no cows in there. There's always cows in there. Always bloody cows. I shat my pants then, look at that. I thought there was someone stood there on edge of woods just staring at me. It's the end of a dry stone wall. Right, come on.
As they followed the trail, Gaz kept mistaking shapes in the darkness, particularly parts of an old stone wall, for figures staring back at them. His goal was to find the location known as the Witch's Den, and the deeper he walked, the more unsettling the surroundings became. Eventually, he found a clearing and discovered a decaying structure buried under debris, which he recognized as the rumored den.
Don't like that. Oh, here it is, I think. Found it. Yeah, check it out. You see the 5-pointed star with bells on it. There were loads of other bells last time I were here. Well, last time I camped here anyway. Just rattling about in wind. Don't think we can get in there, mate. I can't squeeze in there anyway. I'm too fat to get in there now. Getting creeped out. Keep hearing stuff.
Above its entrance hung a 5-pointed star, decorated with bells, clattering sharply in the strong wind. Combined with the groaning trees overhead, the entire area felt increasingly oppressive. While examining the site, Gaz began paying attention to sounds that didn't match the wind. After turning off his flashlight to listen carefully, he picked up a distinct heavy movement, suggesting something large was nearby.
Pretty sure I saw her eye shine. Right up there. Up the side of that wall. It looked pretty big as well. Hold on. Where's my other torch? Alright, so it might have been whatever it was peeking round the side of that wall. It's like a T-junction there with this wall, and there's a gap between this long one here and then the one that goes along there. I ain't got any tools with me. Got no knife, got no axe, got no saw, but I've got a Fendi. Oi, Fendi, this way. Are you having a piddle? Don't worry, I'll watch your back for you. Everyone always tells me to look up, but the only reason why I'm looking up is for branches. Right, oh shit. Come on, let's get out of here. I'm sure I've just heard someone sneeze.
Concerned for his safety, he decided it was time to head out. As he prepared to leave the woods, he became convinced he had seen eyeshine reflecting from a gap between two stone walls. The reflection appeared unusually large, reinforcing his belief that something sizable was watching him. With no tools for protection, he called Fendi and started moving quickly toward the forest's edge. Just before he stepped out of the tree line, a final unexpected sound echoed, a sharp noise resembling a sneeze. It didn't match any animal sound he knew, and it left him deeply unsettled. The moment he exited the woods, the atmosphere changed abruptly, and he noted how much safer he felt once he was clear of the trees. Back at the van, Gaz and Fendi were still processing the experience when a real-world issue took over. Several suspicious charges on his bank card totaling almost $500. The potential fraud forced him to end the camp immediately and drive off in search of phone service to freeze the account, closing the outing with urgent frustration. Some viewers believe the eye shine and heavy movement point to a large animal, while others see the layout of the den and local legends as hints of something paranormal. The strange sneeze-like sound remains the most difficult element to explain naturally. If Gaz had stayed in the woods even a little longer, would the unseen presence have revealed itself or come closer? The unanswered possibility keeps the encounter open to interpretation and debate. That's it for tonight. Which moment creeped you out the most? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story? Share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.